Boom. All right, what's going on, you guys? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to talk to you guys about some of the absolute carnage that we saw in the equity and crypto markets today. And I also want to talk to you about what I'm personally buying right now in an attempt to capitalize on the volatility, considering I do think we could see more short-term downside ahead, all right? So before we get into anything at all, I also want to say that this is all just my opinion. I don't want any of this to come across as fact because it's absolutely not. This is just how I'm choosing to navigate this situation personally, all right? So that said, let's get into it. As always, we'll quickly go over each topic we're going to be discussing, and then we'll dive into each one individually. In front of us, of course, TradingView, where we will cover the following names today in this order going down the watch list, kicking it off with kind of the macroeconomic environment. Okay, so we're going to take a quick look at Bitcoin, take a quick look at the S&P 500. These are the two kings, the kings of the equity markets and the cryptocurrency market. So we'll take a look at these. I'll let you guys know where I think these two are going on the downside. So we'll kick it off with those two, and then we'll get into the actual plays. So if you guys happen to catch the video I posted on Tuesday titled something like, will there be another market crash, how I'm hedging my portfolio in case it does, I talked about these two exact plays, and I'm going to talk about them again because these are actually the two plays that allowed my Robinhood portfolio to close out pretty significantly green today, all right? So the first is SPXL. This is a 3x bull ETF of the S&P 500, okay? And I took out put options, or I shorted the SPXL, okay? So I'm short the SPXL right now. I do think the S&P 500 will continue to fall. We'll go over price targets there, and then we'll cover the VIX. So this is one of the few sectors, the few plays, I should say, in the entire market today that saw some green, and pretty significant green at that, okay? So the VIX is a CBOE volatility index. When the S&P 500 falls, the VIX goes up. When the S&P 500 sees volatility, the volatility index goes up because it's inversely correlated. That means it does exactly the opposite of what the S&P does at an elevated level. So my trade there, because you can't trade options, which is what I do on the VIX, is the VIXY. This is an ETF that just tracks the VIX. And as you can see, this play was up 15% right now. This play absolutely crushed it for me personally today. A shout out to you guys if you were playing the VIXY as well. Again, we talked about this a few days ago, and we did see a little dead cat bounce, which we'll cover as well. But right now, after today, the VIXY calls really came in clutch. Okay, so we'll cover VIXY, call options on the VIXY, put options on SPXL, and then we'll cover two plays that I'm just bullish on. Okay, so silver is the first one. I've been talking about silver a lot lately, and you guys, I just have a feeling that silver will have its time to shine. I think there's a lot of factors that I'm not going to get into now. I'll get into them when we cover silver itself a little later. That are just lining up. Stars are aligning for silver. So I'll give you guys my thoughts there. There's some silver miners and a silver ETF that I'm buying personally there. And then we'll close it out with alternate systems. This may be confusing to some of you, or ALYI stock. This is an OTC stock. But ALYI, of many of the plays that we talk about on the channel right now, has like the best setup of all the charts that I looked at today in my eyes. And I just wanted to share with you guys there. It's already seen a significant correction. And it's one of the few plays as well that saw some green at some point during trading hours today, which is very rare. Of like the 100 plays on my watches today, this is one of maybe like 5 or 6 that actually saw some green at some point through the day. Okay, so that signals to me pretty strong investor sentiment, and that's why I want to share the charts with you guys, because again, the technicals are looking really good for ALYI as well. All right, so those are the names we're going to cover, but first we will read through the intro to the newsletter that I sent out this morning to the portfolio newsletter group, of course, okay? Again, I like reading these just because I've already framed my thoughts here, and instead of trying to riff to you guys, I just want to give it to you guys in a clean-cut way, okay? So let's read through this quickly, and then we'll dive into the charts. Things are feeling a little extra sketchy today, guys. A bloody Thursday confirms to me that yesterday's green price action was, in fact, a dead cat bounce. So, you guys, a dead cat bounce, for those of you who don't know, very, very popular name, especially in this market. I bet a lot of you heard that back in March if you were trading after that huge liquidity crisis, the stock market crash that we saw just about a year ago. A dead cat bounce is when something falls extremely hard and then sees a follow-up day of very green price action, which is exactly what we saw yesterday. And that did confirm to me, considering we saw some pretty brutal price action today to the downside, that yesterday was in fact a dead cat bounce. All right, I'm personally expecting to see more red tomorrow. Momentum is in that direction's favor, and it's a Friday, so you know there will be a little extra volatility, considering traders will want to exit their positions prior to the weekend. So just rule of thumb, you guys, if you've been trading for a while, you would definitely know that that's how things go. On Fridays, the markets tend to be more volatile, especially if there are contracts closing on that day, which tomorrow they aren't. But again, just a lot of traders will want to be exiting their positions going into the weekend, because the weekends, of course, bring uncertainty. All right. In a market environment like this, I will always prioritize responsible trading. I'm not in complete defense mode with all of my capital on the sidelines, but I'm definitely being more cautious with the way I'm structuring my portfolio. So again, I said all this stuff on Tuesday, but again, you guys, during times like these, when there's so much emotion, there's so much hot money, like just capital flying all over the place in this market, so much retail investors in the market. When times get tough, you really just want to play it on the safer side, especially if you've been seeing a lot of green over the past month or two, like we've been fortunate to around here. Embrace volatility. Boom. When you understand volatility, you can use it to your advantage. As you guys know, those VIXY calls and SPL puts are how I chose to hedge my portfolio against a further decline in the markets earlier this week. Today, those plays actually allowed me to be in the green, which I'm very thankful for, considering almost the entire market is red. Again, you guys, it was a bloodbath in the markets today. There's so many macro factors pointing to more medium to long-term upside in the market. So again, medium to long-term, I want to make it very clear that I'm still bullish. Everything is still in an overall long-term uptrend. That goes for all equity indices. That goes for crypto markets. That goes for even gold, silver, literally everything, as long as the dollar is declining in value, which the dollar is still in a downtrend, and that will continue with the stimulus. And I will talk a little bit about the stimulus as well after we finish reading this. But, I'll just talk about it now. So I believe the stimulus, you guys, I think that was a big buy the hype, sell the news event. Stimulus has been priced in forever. We knew with the Biden administration there was inevitably going to be a stimulus, and I do think that the stimulus was priced in. So I'll just say that much. But long term, inflation is still a very real thing, and money printing and the dollar devaluation is a very real thing as well. So as long as the dollar is declining in value, ultimately every other asset class will appreciate in value, because that's just how things work. It's asset inflation, all right? So I personally think we're going to see more short-term downside, and we'll continue to take action on that behalf. And then again, just wanted to talk about some of these names. But again, you guys, it was a rough day, but the big just takeaway here, the one-liner that I've said so many times before, I'll say it again, because that's how you really, again, capitalize on some of these tough times in the markets, is embrace volatility. If you understand volatility, you can use it to your advantage, and you can find the volatility very lucrative, once again, if you know how to play it properly, like with the SPXL puts and VIXY calls, which again we will get into. But before we dive into the charts, you guys, I will always, as always, ask you to please give the video a like if you do go on to gain value from it today, or if you're invested in or trading any of the assets that we're going to be talking about today. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, want to catch more content like this. We are in a tough time, guys, but again, I'm going to be here for you guys. Tough times, good times. Like I always say, it's even better to cover the bad times than the good times. The good times are way funner. I enjoy covering them more, in all honesty. I'm sure you guys would agree with that. But the bad times are more important, because these are what build resilience and character as a trader over the long run, okay? Just keep your head up. And anyway, check out my complete portfolio daily newsletter. First link down in the description. $15 a month if you want a complete breakdown of my entire portfolio. I do update that every single trading day during market hours. And with every update, I do send out a pretty comprehensive newsletter explaining my thoughts. So again, this is just the intro to the newsletter. We go down to look at some charts and whatnot. If you want one of these bad boys in your inbox every morning, every trading day, that is, once again, during market hours, please check out the link down in the description. Work really hard on it, and I would appreciate it if you do. But if not, no worries at all. So let's dive into some of these charts, you guys. If you guys caught the crypto comeback video I just posted yesterday, I got bull trapped. I got bull trapped out, and you guys know that I'm a very, very long-term Bitcoin bull. I think many of you are on the channel. I think many of us can agree with that. But again, you guys, things are getting technical. Before we saw this price action yesterday, where Bitcoin actually broke this very, very significant trend line right here. And the break of this trend line is what signals to me that we're definitely going further down, and I'll explain that a little after. But again, you guys, this is a bull trap. This is a textbook bull trap, dead cat bounce right here. We got above this trend line. It signaled some bullish sentiment amongst investors, but quickly broke below it, and that was a signal to me. Again, you can see these candles right here. There just wasn't enough strength. There's just not enough volume here, and that signals to me that we will test the initial downside targets that I suspected we would on Tuesday, okay? So this is a lot clearer to me now. Again, this fake out, this break, this dead cat bounce, this is 100% a dead cat bounce in my eyes. Again, maybe we see a reversal, maybe some whales buy up some Bitcoin, but I think it's very unlikely. And I do think that we'll ultimately come down to test my initial downside price target of about $40,500. The reason for this price target is that it lines up nicely. You know what? We'll just do it up here, because just to be as conservative as possible, this is actually where I think it's going to happen. Okay, so there's two reasons that this area is my price target. So this would actually be like about 41.5. Say we hit it March 5th, like by the end of next trading week. I do think it could happen a lot sooner than this, but very simply put, I do think that Bitcoin will ultimately come here, because it just tests the initial high of the medium-term rally at the beginning of this year. So in a bull market, you guys, again, we're still in a long-term bull market. I'm very convinced of that. But in bull markets, it's very, very likely that the asset, if it's been going parabolic, which Bitcoin objectively has, will ultimately come down in the short term, at least when it sees a full correction, will come down to test the initial high of the rally that it's currently on. And that rally would bring us down to about $41,500 if you take the peaks here. Another reason that I think it will likely test this area is because this is the bottom line of support, you guys. This is actually a pretty conservative line of support. This is more of a line of support right here. So again, it would line up here, but I think it's actually more likely that aside from this line of support, that it does just come down to test the initial high of the rally. That would take us to about $41,000. Let's do a quick price range on this. So price range from its high of 58,000 to where this line is would be a 30% correction. 30% corrections short term are very, very like if you're talking about the end of the cycle, that's usually when you see a 50 to 70% correction. But short-term corrections, when you're still in a overall bull trend, in an overall uptrend, 30% corrections are usually like that's just how the game goes. Again, you guys, I've built the majority of the wealth I have now off capitalizing on bubbles, FOMO, emotion, and stuff. And this is, again, 30% pullbacks are where in an overall bull market, I'm personally comfortable accumulating shares, okay? And again, it would test the recent high. That's TA 101 right there. So ultimately, downside price target for Bitcoin is about 41,500, 42K. Again, to keep it not greedy, to be conservative, because everyone's going to be looking at 41K, and everyone's going to be buying as soon as that first candle touches 41.5. So 42, 43K. Again, you guys, don't get greedy. What's $1,000 when you're talking about what's a few percent, you know, when you're talking about the long term, okay? So keep your eyes on the prize, guys. Well, let's go to SPXL. We're actually not going to look at SPX, but this is Direxion Shares ETF Trust, Direxion Daily S&P 500 Bull 3X shares. So again, you can see the SPX, which is the S&P 500, was down 2.5% today. This was down about 7% today. So again, you guys, this is a 3X Bull ETF, which means that it's just going to be more volatile, which is why I like to trade this, all right? So again, like I said on Tuesday, my downside price target remains exactly the same. Let's zoom out here a little bit so you guys can see just kind of why this is. Very simply, this is the overall line of support on the long-term uptrend beginning from the low in March. So you have this touch point, obviously, in the March lows. You have this touch point right here back at the end of summer. And it only makes sense to me that because you guys, things have just been ripping. And again, corrections are a healthy part of every bull market. So it wouldn't surprise me at all, and always know, you guys, my money's on everything I'm saying right now, that the SPXL does ultimately come down a few more percent. Let's do a price range on this too, from where we're at right now to where my trend line is. I assume we'll hit this if we don't just tank tomorrow, which I don't think is very likely. I think this will span over the course of the next week or so. Corrections, again, in bull markets usually span from like 7 to 10 days, sometimes 2 weeks. This would be about another 15-20% down from where we're at right now, okay? Of course, depending on when we strike this line of support. So I do expect another 15% or so correction in the S&P 500. That's, again, you guys, that's standard in bull markets. Long-term fundamentals are still there. Money's still being printed. I'm still long-term bullish on everything that's not the US dollar, in all honesty. But short-term, again, I'm a trader, and I'm doing my best to capitalize on the reality of the situation, okay? So that is SPXL. I do have put options on the SPXL for full transparency. And again, those put options on the SPXL are the way that I was able to, one of the two ways, the second of which we will get into right now, one of the two ways that I was personally able to capitalize and come out of the day profitable, all right? So moving on to the VIXY. The VIXY is actually looking very weird on the charts. So the VIXY is a weird chart, but just to keep it simple here, you guys, if we do see a breakout in the VIXY, we're actually going to go to the daily here to show you guys what happened back in March. So I guess we didn't really need to do that, but just get a little more macro here. As you guys can see, the VIXY back in March, when we first started seeing that pullback, so from February 21st to March 18th, so over the span of just under a month, the VIXY went from about $10 to about $60, all right? So that's a 6x. This shows you what can happen when there's uncertainty in the markets and when the S&P 500 specifically, because again, we just looked at the SPX chart. When the S&P 500 goes down, because the VIX is inversely correlated, so that means it does the exact opposite once again, will go up. And that's what you can see happens when times get scary, when investors get scared, they run to the VIX, okay? The good old lightning bolt. And the VIXY did get to a high of $65 back in March before the market reversed, and then it began the super long-term downtrend, okay? So a few just macro things I'm looking at right here. The VIX is a degrading ETF. So keep in mind, you guys, all ETFs ultimately are degrading when they're based around some of these larger indices and stuff. All right, but still, I think that if we do see some downside, if people get scared, we could see some very, very promising upside for VIXY right here, okay, and the VIX as well. VIXY did break a medium-term downtrend pretty significantly when it broke out at the beginning of February over here, and I think it is technically in a medium-term breakout right now because it did break a pretty significant line of resistance on the medium-term downtrend. All right, so VIXY, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we do happen to see a pop, and all it needs to go accordingly. Keep that in mind, you guys, to see this. But over the course of kind of the bull market, you know what, I think this is a lot safer, you guys, now that I'm looking at it. This area right here, because it bounced off of this twice and used it as a pretty strong line of support on the way down, you can see it uses pretty much as resistance right here. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see VIXY actually come up to test this area. So $30, again, psychological even, you guys. I wouldn't be surprised if VIXY, like, again, if things get crazy, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see a $30 VIXY. But conservative, what I'm now realizing, I'm comfortable telling you guys. And again, you guys, shout out to you guys if you kind of heeded the warning on Tuesday and took out some VIXY calls. I think VIXY, if we see some crazy price action, because it has such a low market cap of, where's VIXY's market cap? It doesn't have I think it's on Robinhood, but VIXY has, I mean, there's not a whole lot of capital in VIXY, so it does not take much capital into the VIXY ETF to appreciate the value. And again, with so many investors being scared right now, this is one of the few, like, capital still wants to make money. Like, money's still going to want to make money. There's still a lot of capital in the markets that wants to be put to work, which is actually a big reason that we're going to be talking about silver after this, and ALYI actually. But VIXY is a direct way to hedge your portfolio, and again, I'm very thankful for those VIXY calls I had in place today. Upside price target for VIXY by the end of next week. It doesn't matter when we hit it, but upside price target just conservatively is about $23. I'd be stoked on a $20 VIXY, again, considering it's at $14 now. That's a very significant percentage increase. So yeah, we'll see what happens here, but again, you guys, especially with a play like VIXY, things get really crazy really fast, and really bad really fast. So be careful with this one too, okay? So let's move on to silver. So good old silver is just looking so weird right now to me, but silver is still looking promising at the same time. And my overall price target does remain, because silver is still in this like nice ascending channel right here for the most part. You can actually get a little more conservative, like, I guess that's more of a realistic trend line for silver. So again, silver is currently in this ascending channel ever since it broke out of the very long-term bull flag. And keep in mind, you guys, we're on the daily, so this is very macro, but just looking at silver's chart, similar to AG. So AG is my favorite silver mine. If you look at AG's chart too, it just looks like, if you guys were around for like XNet, some of these crypto plays, even like XNet, CWork, all these things, like, there's certain charts that just look like they're asking to break out, right? And from a macro perspective, you see silver is definitely a bull market, and by no means to the same extent that many of the other plays like Bitcoin and the S&P 500 equities have been in, but silver is still in a great inflation hedge. And especially as capital flows out of assets like Bitcoin, traditional inflation hedges, I think, because capital still wants to be put to work, that capital will ultimately flow into silver, and silver over gold, because silver's all-time high back in 2011 was way up at $50. Gold is pretty much dancing around its all-time, or gold in 2020 set a new all-time high. So gold is dancing around its historical high, but silver's still far beyond it. Like, so last time silver saw its all-time high was a decade ago. So that's what gives me reason to believe. It's also a smaller market, so it does take less capital inflow. If enough people get in on silver, it's going to absolutely explode, and that's what I'm betting on. I've just felt it in my gut for so long. Silver broke out of this long-term bull flag, very, very bullish. And just look at this, you guys. Like, just look at this chart. Like, you're showing, like, it's showing strength. It's just not seeing volume, and that's the thing. Like, if volume gets in on silver, silver's gonna pop off, because the technicals are great. It just doesn't have the attention towards it right now. But that's why I like, again, as capital flows out of cryptocurrency over the short term, I think silver could see a significant pricing appreciation over the short term. So silver, again, you guys, the plays I have in place here are SLV and AG calls. Personally, again, you guys play whatever you want in the silver sector. There's a lot of great miners out there. That's just what I'm playing personally. And my upside price target for silver in the short term, if all goes accordingly, is about $32.50. If we can break through this line of resistance that's acted as a very historical line of resistance since these March lows over here, this line is very obviously in play, in my opinion. If we can break $33, just to play it safe. I think that we're definitely on our way up to test the overall line of resistance, at least silver's previous high back in 2011 of $50, but I wouldn't be surprised by the end of 2021 to see a $60 silver. All right, so silver, again, you guys, maybe this doesn't play out. It's not like the short term really isn't like looking good just because there's so much fear right now in the markets, but just again, this is what I'm doing. Know that I do have a lot of money on silver, and if silver goes down, I'm going to lose a solid chunk of change. Okay, so ALYI, let's talk about this beautiful pattern that is printing right now. So ALYI, let's zoom out a little bit here, and I mean, very simple, you guys. What do you guys see here? This is a bull flag. We love those here on the channel. So ALYI has seen a very significant correction from its high. Let's do a price range here quick while we have it up. So ALYI's high to this low that it set back on February 23rd was a total of a 70% correction. Okay, so again, you guys, if you have a fundamentally bullish asset, and I believe, this is just my opinion, once again, always do your own research. I believe ALYI is a gem. I believe this is like my Mars mission play, we always call it, especially in like Discord, just amongst ourselves. This is the Mars rover, okay? This isn't the rocket ship, this is the Mars rover. And this is such an exciting play. Again, you guys, the EV Harley Davidson, that's just how I kind of sum it up in an elevator pitch. It's such an exciting play, such a good story, such a cool, like, still related into crypto because they're doing an ICO pretty soon, which I just covered in yesterday's video. Super exciting here. It has seen a 70% correction from its high just earlier this month. And again, 2-week correction, a 2-week span of correction, 70% down. I'm always comfortable. Like, I've been accumulating more ALYI in all honesty, like, this entire time. Over the past like week or two, I've been accumulating more ALYI because it's hit my downside price targets. And you can see here that ALYI after today is showing a very bullish sentiment for 2 reasons from a technical perspective, at least. One, it's bouncing off its overall line of resistance on the short-term uptrend, okay, or on this parabolic rally that it's currently on. So you can see this line of resistance is definitely, this line of support, I'm sorry, is definitely in play. 4-hour candle did get below it, but it was immediately eaten back up. That's very bullish to show that, once again, this line of support is in fact in play. Just today, it did bounce perfectly off this line of support right here. Once again, proving to me, at least, that this trend line is in fact in play. And right now, it's at the very tip. It is at the flag tip of this Bula flag. And again, you guys, bull flags aren't guaranteed to play out, but way more often than not, they do play out, obviously towards the upside, hence the name, the bull flag. So tomorrow, because market sentiment is pretty bad just as a whole right now, crypto's going down, EVs are not looking too hot either, and this is kind of a merger of both those sectors. I wouldn't be surprised to see more downside, in all honesty, but today I bought a whole lot of ALYI because I'm a trader, and I keep charts in mind, and even if we do see more downside, I'll probably just keep buying more because I'm so freaking bullish on this thing over the long run. As many of you guys know, my long-term price target for ALYI is $1. Maybe we hit $1 in a few months. $10, maybe we hit $1 in a year, 2 years, 5 years, I don't know. But ALYI is such a ridiculously small market cap, and only at sub $10 million. This is the smallest market cap I've ever seen of any company on the markets, with such a cool mission. Again, building electric vehicles, two-wheeled electric vehicles, two-wheeled bikes. The bike is sick for emerging markets, India, Africa, which are on the come up, like the future Wakandas of the world. And it's such a cool story. Like, they're doing an ICO, they're in the future, they're making sure everything's in regulatory compliant. And again, you guys, I'm very bullish on this. So short-term, short to medium price target for ALYI is to test the top line of resistance up here at about 40. Say we hit it mid-March, that'd be about 45 cents. If we can break through this, line of resistance, then we'll definitely be going parabolic, in my opinion, and that could take us to $1. Okay, so excuse me, getting to the end of the video here. ALYI, very bullish on it. Again, maybe it breaks down. If it does, I'm just buying more, in all honesty. Okay, so we'll call it there, you guys. Please let me know what you think about the plays we talked about down below, how you're personally hedging, what sectors you're excited about right now. I know cannabis might be looking, I mean, you guys, everything got pretty worked today, but please let me know. We love revolutionary sectors here on the channel. Please let me know what you guys are excited about right now, what you guys are buying on these dips. Because again, if you're focused on the long term, if your eyes are on the prize, if you got them diamond hands, let me know what you're buying right now, because everything's at a discount in the macro, all right? So it's hard to think that way at times like these, but you guys, I've been doing this for a long time. I've lost a lot of money on corrections like this in the past, but ultimately, if you stick with it, you usually end up making it all back if you play it correctly. Okay, so again, I appreciate you guys watching. I'll catch you downstairs in the comments section. Until next time, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.